still telling me to connect streaming software to go, oh.
Remember, you have to go to the old.
It's at Lake Tahoe. It's
You
at
do that, did you go to
the Olympic Valley, the
Okay.
Squaw Valley Resort.
You got it, ready?
We're live.
Right.
You see something go terribly wrong.
Okay, I'll press the button to
Let me
keep it
ask Sue if
alive.
she can hear it. Sue, can you check if you
Have
can
you ever
hear
been
it?
there?
Well, I just can hear
I
it.
assume once it's live, it stays
So,
live.
if you're going towards the resort,
I stopped
there's
it.
a really
Okay.
You can only stop it for so long
on the
before it's.
left.
Oh, okay.
It's got a golf course and stuff. That's where
Okay.
She's gonna hear it, listen, see if she can hear the
Yeah.
sound.
Okay. So, fine, well, it's 3:30, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Thank you all for coming. So I need a motion to adopt the agenda for this meeting.
So, second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Unanimous. Okay, a moment of silence as the pledge of allegiance, please. Ready? Begin. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. As we have public comment on our agenda, does anybody have anything they'd like to say now? You're free to add throughout the agenda, but if there's something specific. Okay, we'll move on. Okay, item 5 on the agenda is community presentation. Yes, Tara Wood. Is it Tara? Ah, there it is. Okay. He sent me this video, and so if you haven't had, I sent it on the agenda, so if everybody's seen it, then we probably don't need to play it again. Has everybody seen it, or do you want to see it now?
I watched it. I watched it.
I didn't watch
I did.
all of it. But I don't know that.
You want to watch it or not?
I'm good.
Okay, so if everybody's seen it, I watched it all the way through the end. Tarl, do you want to talk about a pump track and why you think it would be a great thing for the valley, or?
Well, so it started me and Ian Odom. He's the mountain bike coach and race team coach over at Summit. We've been looking for the last year wanting to build, for a place to build one, and then he called me one day and he was like, hey, this spot looks really good on the shore of, on the corner of Shore and Big Bear Boulevard. Let's start building something there. I said, hold on, because I'm a real estate agent. I was like, let's find out who owns it and see if we can get permission to do this. And then when I
Well,
saw,
that's not the Big Bear way.
and
You
so
mean
I-
it's not there already?
well, we haven't even gone over there and like walked it or anything because that would be trespassing. So,
Actually, it wouldn't be.
Because there's trails too. So.
but anyway, so I called Paul and I asked him, who do I need to ask for permission to do this? And here we are today. Basically, I saw on YouTube this video that I sent that everybody looked at. So I immediately grabbed my son. We went down the next day. We were there, we were riding, it was awesome. There's kids of all ages, adults, and just people with scooters because that one is paved. That's not necessarily what we're asking to do because that takes funding, and we basically just want to build something. We grab some front loaders and get over there, start moving dirt and shaping, and build something for the whole community to use. It's more of a skate park for bicycles, and Ian has a 1-year-old who's going to be going on a balance bike soon, so it's going to be something that he can ride. My 6-year-old daughter can ride, and all the way up to that, adults are going to have fun on as well. And yeah, you try and go around twice and you're tired. It's hard, it's fun, and it's a great thing I think our community really needs, especially since we're a hub for sports. And I think that's a big thing missing in our community that is available in other communities, and I'd really like to stop having to travel to go use it.
So you're not suggesting we build something anywhere near what Menifee did?
No, at least not yet. Maybe one day, but just like the Rathburn corridor, this could take years. We're looking for something that we can just go, we can get done, build, and start having fun, and expand on it, and just something where the community can go and play on their bikes where we don't have to pay, and something other than just single track. It's skill building, kids are learning balance, they're learning how to pump, they're learning all of that.
I have no expertise in this whatsoever. Okay, zero. I talked to Driz Cook. Do you know Driz?
I know who he is, but I don't know him.
Okay, you should meet Driz. He's the one that built all of our trails. Okay, well, almost all of them. And he and I discussed pump track because he was saying, gee, he's a mountain biker. And we discussed doing it up off of Bernhardt. Are you familiar with where that is?
Yeah.
Okay. And in fact, he was going to just do it, but we had a lot of trouble up there. I mean, that's behind a residential neighborhood. It's kind of out of the way, and we've had some not so nice things go on up there. A lot of trash gets dumped up there, and so we agreed it probably wasn't the ideal spot for it. At that time, we were building an aquatic center on the corner of Shore and Big Bear Boulevard, and so there really wasn't any room for a pump track down there. So anyway, I did talk to Driz after I talked to you, and I mean his only comment to me, and I was hoping he'd come today, was that this will require maintenance.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's not something you just, trails they require maintenance too, but they don't require as much maintenance as this. And so his concern was, we've got an MOU with the Southern California Mountains Foundation, okay, to maintain the trails. The gentleman in front of you, okay, represent that. Although I don't know if Phil's directly associated with this, but anyway. Because we know there's going to be a need. So we would need to have a partner in the community that is knowledgeable and wanting to work with us, partner with us, to make something like this happen.
Okay.
I simply do not have the time to take on another project. Okay? I mean, if you want me to do it, it's going to be years. The other issue that we would have to address is parking. Okay? I mean, parking along shore is a real problem in the wintertime. And if we create parking for a pump track in the summer, that we'll have to understand how we're going to either accept or control parking in the winter. So there's some issues that we need to address. So are you willing to spearhead this effort, is I guess what I'm saying?
Yeah, and realistically, it won't be used during the winter unless it's paved.
Oh,
No,
well,
no. That area for sledding gets used a
Oh,
lot.
yeah, that.
yes. There are, depending on the weekend and the snow, there can be a lot of people out there sledding.
And it's a nuisance for the neighborhood.
It's gotten better. Visit Big Bear's doing a great job cleaning it up. And I think CHP and Sheriff have done a pretty good job this last winter for sure of controlling the parking a little bit better. But anyway, I guess my message, if you want the foundation to take it on, then somebody other than me needs to kind of be the leader of it and spearhead it and come up with plans and costs and how this whole thing's going to work. So if that's you, then I would leave it to the board whether we want to, is this a use that we want to pursue?
I think two things. One is that just the liability factor, we have to look at the liability factor. The other one is if we're changing that area significantly, does it have to come back to the governing board for the Bear Valley Unified School District too, because we're changing it in a significant way? I don't know, does it?
It's just moving.
It's just moving dirt.
We're just moving dirt.
Just moving dirt right now. Any permanent.
But if we were doing cement or anything, but just
Yes.
moving dirt into big mountains so that people can jump over them isn't.
Correct. Under watching what Menifee did, then
That was major.
if the foundation decided that that is the direction it wanted to go, it would have to bring that whole project to the school board for approval.
And the foundation already has the insurance.
That's
and like-
funded project.
Well, the only real issue for the school district is, does it create a potential liability for the school district?
Exactly.
And so we'd have to address it. I mean, this is not something that's going to get built tomorrow. I assume you know that.
Oh, well aware.
Okay. But, so is there a general consensus that this is a project we would like to consider? I haven't heard from you, Mr. PB.
Well, I think it's very worthwhile looking into, not to dig up past history, but my first thought is back in the day when we had a group that sorts of things, and then when it came down to it, there was not a coach. We ended up, fortunately, had a great coach, soccer coach on staff, and I think you raised the key point. Who is really going to manage and stay on top of this type of project? Because there'd be a lot of activity, I would assume, because it sounds great, fun for the young people and the whole bit, but it certainly needs somebody that's in charge.
Yes. I think we have a volunteer.
But kind of like what you were talking about with we have an agreement for the mountain, so the SoCal Mountain to maintain
Yes.
the trails. Is there an organization that you would operate under to enter into an agreement? How would we, once we got there, what would it look like?
Well, that's something that we don't have to decide today.
Well, that's true. I'm just saying.
She's just proactive.
My brain is already thinking about all those other pieces.
Stuff like that should be part of his written plan that he would bring.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Since
Mr.
I'm
Zaboyda?
like Linda, finally
Dr.
approached
Zaboyda?
the esteemed board, I always put the cart way before the horse. This is the 21st,
Wow,
21st
she was so
century.
prepared.
I already got-
Oh,
you
Dr.
see that dollar
Zaboyda,
figure?
thank you
I
so-
put that dollar figure in for you.
You know what? This
You
is
guys wanna see
amazing.
that? So I saw what Carl sent and I thought that was the best thing ever, but I also thought it was like the project on steroids. So I was thinking, where do we start? And I know that a lot of kids around the community have done what we're kind of assuming that we want to do, which is kind of push some dirt around and make a rudimentary track, which is a great way to start. But I also know that there's right ways and wrong ways to build things, and things like bike trails do deteriorate. They do start moving and migrating, and before you know it, they're no good, especially for a pump track, because the design is super important because you're using your weight and you're pumping your weight around the track. One little bump gets off, it throws the whole thing off. So I talked to Driz too, and he had expressed interest, and he said he'd be more than willing to help when he comes back and when he's around, but he doesn't know when that is. My idea was partnering with not only the Ed Foundation, but Snow Summit obviously has a lot of the knowledge, the equipment, and the machinery. And since we have a connection there, I thought it'd be interesting, and this is something Tarl and I can look into, reaching out to Summit and saying, hey, would you be willing to lend your expertise, maybe lend machinery, maybe lend man time to make this happen for the community? I talked with the president of the Big Bear Cycling Association, and he said I had to be very vague about this, but in general, they are very supportive of this project, as it seems it is seamless with their mission to promote cycling in the valley. And they do have funds that are available. How much, I don't know. It depends how much Mr. Peavy makes at the Tour de Big Bear this year for us. We also have lots of volunteers. I believe we have several hundred members of the Cycling Association, many of which are civically oriented, which I know that would be more than happy to come out and help with track maintenance or clearing or anything else we had to do. But then I looked into, well, someone has to build these officially. They don't just appear out of nowhere with people who haven't done it before. And the first name that came up was that pumptracksusa.com. I think that's a great place to go if you want to see more realistic starter tracks. They actually built the tracks through the Olympics in the last few Olympics, the 2008 in Japan, the 2012, and I talked to him over there. And you can see below are three, again, their definitions of what a rookie, novice, and expert course looks like. And he said the novice course, built by them the right way, putting down bed level or all the underlayers correctly, compacting it, designing it, finding out where it should go on the site, and asphalting it, which I'll get to in a second. The whole thing would cost $165,000. He was quick to retreat, saying that if you can get things donated in your neighborhood, it can bring that cost down greatly. Like machinery, so they don't have to bring theirs out from Cleveland, Ohio. Lodging, so their people have places to stay. Gravel from the local gravel yard and things like that. So how much it brought it down, I don't know. And I asked him, I said, well, what happens if we throw the asphalt out? We don't put the asphalt on. It only goes down to $150,000. And he mentioned exactly what Driz said. He said the asphalt is well worth the cost for many different reasons. Number one, you're not constantly maintaining it. Number two, more people can enjoy it because you can have skateboarders on there, scooters on there, and you can have people with wheelchairs on there as well. Motorized wheelchairs and non-mechanical wheelchairs as well. But he thought that was, for that extra expense, it was definitely worth it to do that way. All the BMX courses that are built now are on this asphalt, the softer asphalt that people use as well. So again, I'm not advocating for any of this. This was just some of the information that we found out. I'm looking forward to helping Tarl make some connections and come up with a plan. He was nice enough too to give us the dimensions of the land we need. He said if you can get 110 by 150 to 200, that's a big enough area to do a really decent pump track on if we wanted to develop something. So I'll be working with Tarl and hopefully we can come up with something good and have some fun over there in the next couple of years.
Are you cutting a check?
Depends if 155 Knowles helps.
Okay, I gather there's a consensus that we want to consider it. We'd like to see a plan, and this is all great information, but it needs, 110 by 150, I believe, could be accommodated on the area between Shore and Big River.
Should be able to fit all three. You know, I mean, if there could be, if we were to be able to see that there's significant interest, then expanding into others might be.
And that's what I thought the equivalent of what Ron said. I was thinking of soccer too. Build a rudimentary one out of dirt potentially, see if there's the interest, and then go from there, then step it up from there. Makes sense.
I know my kids did the one at Summit a couple of years ago and it was awesome. They loved it. After taking a lesson from Ian, then they were just on the pump track screwing around for like hours.
Yeah.
Just the soft asphalt.
No dirt,
It's
just
dirt.
at the base
It's
of
just
snow
dirt.
summer.
Okay, just the dirt.
Summit converts from skiing to
Right.
biking every year.
And they do the pump track in about a day.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So they could almost do one, is what you're thinking too.
I'm sure they could.
If we ask real politely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Ian.
This is
Oh, hey, just in time.
Have a seat, dude.
We were discussing the pump track. I suspect that's why you're here.
Yes.
Okay, so you guys need to get organized and come up with a plan, and we'll take a look at it. The one issue, you've heard the issues. Okay, parking, okay, will be an issue. That we need to understand how that's going to relate to controlling it in the snow in the wintertime. But we're open to a proposal. Okay. As you will see if you stay for the next part of the meeting, our funds are currently committed to the Fields project. And
We're not asking you guys for funds.
Okay, so.
We're asking for permission.
And Snow Summit has offered to assist us with the Fields project. Okay, now, I was getting confirmation from, I haven't gotten confirmation.
And that's as the crow flies, just a few hundred yards away. So,
Yeah, they
like,
can stop and help
equipment-
us when they go to get gas.
And it's a much bigger project.
Oh, yeah.
So, yes, when I talked to Wade last, he was, very supportive and very interested. Now, whether, how much they will actually be able to do, I'm gonna try to pin down. But, so, I think Summit will be very responsive.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's all we can do at this point.
Thank you,
All right.
guys.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
My wife's got to get the ballet class.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Samoya, for fixing it.
Thank you.
I'll put another zero on next time. You didn't get pale enough.
Okay, item 6, approval of minutes from our March 6th meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It was
First,
Dr. Rosado.
I'm sorry,
and,
Graham, like Linda
and
and
Dr.
Jeff.
Roberts,
And
everybody's.
Jeff.
Okay. Did we vote?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
We all said aye.
It was unanimous. So
Yes.
it's clear. Okay, item 7. Unfortunately, Dr. Liz Harris has resigned from the board. Not to anything we did, but that her life has changed for the better. So she doesn't feel that she would be in Big Bear often enough to continue to participate. So we need to accept the resignation of Dr. Liz Harris.
so moved.
Second.
I mean, Liz was a great board member. She's going to be sorely
Missed,
missed.
yes.
I mean, not only for this foundation, but for the valley.
I saw her yesterday, she seemed really happy.
Yes. I mean, if you know the story, I don't wanna share the story, but it's a really nice, sweet story.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm thrilled for him. Okay, so, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It's unanimous. Now we need to find a replacement for Dr. Harris. And the only person that's contacted me is Jim Miller. Everybody know Jim Miller?
Yes.
No? He's the head of the Pebble Plane Group. He was the community development director for the city of Big Bear Lake for many years. Retired, then became the local field rep for Don Rao for a while until he earned too much money and had to quit. And Jim's a really good guy, very knowledgeable, very capable, and very interested in mostly pebble playing, but also trails. And so that would be, he would bring that to the board.
We don't have to advertise it.
No, we don't have to do anything. And I was hoping to get someone from the baseball softball league who really wanted to help build the fields, who really would take a real interest there. But I didn't get any responses. They have not been terribly communicative. So I don't have anybody else. I would like to reach out one more time to see if we can find somebody, because if we're going to continue with that effort, which I assume we are, it would be nice to have a connection to the youth teams and the league that this is going to support us. So I would like, unless does anybody else have any ideas of people you'd like me to contact?
Isn't Sarah Benson's kids in youth baseball and her husband's a coach?
Okay.
So maybe hers.
Okay, I'm already on one board with her. But I could talk to Sarah. Yes, they're my neighbor.
Right.
So, I'll ask. They're on vacation, so I can't talk to them.
For a while, on vacation.
They won't be back.
Camping.
Yeah, I shouldn't say. This is
Oh, yes, please.
broadcast.
They have a house sitter.
I wondered why they men. Okay, I mean that's
Usually for
Sarah's
someone in
great.
both, like in both youth sports that are heavily involved.
I'm sorry?
Someone from soccer and someone from baseball, softball.
Well, we have some. Dave Lawrence is on the soccer board,
Okay.
and he's on this board. So we have a voice from soccer, and I'll take another voice from soccer. I mean, if they are really interested in helping build the fields. But we do have at least somebody who speaks, I think, for soccer. They've been more responsive as well. I mean, I got a response from my email saying, yeah, we'll contact all our parents when you're really looking for volunteers and all that. I got nothing back from the. So anyway, but I haven't given up, and I can talk to Sarah and see if she's interested.
I think Jim would be great, don't get me wrong, but if you want to cast the net wider.
Okay. I know Sarah is very busy. Okay, any other suggestions, or Mr. Peavy?
So Jim is, and he has
Jim?
expressed,
Jim is interested, yes.
Okay, good.
I talked to him, he said he would like to, would look forward, I believe, to joining the board and to giving us a seat. But I told him that I was really hoping to get somebody related to baseball, softball. He understood that and said, well, I'm still interested. If you don't find anybody else, I would love to join. So,
Well, given you said it that way, I'd say why look anywhere
Right,
else?
yes, I would too.
I say we appoint Jim.
oh, okay.
So since it says consider possible candidates for the vacant position, can we vote on that now? Is that considered itemized?
I don't see, well, I don't have a problem with taking action there. It says consider.
I make a motion
Does somebody have
that
a-
we appoint Jim.
Jim Miller?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say. Any other discussion? You don't know. Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, I will stop the search and not talk to Sarah. Well, I'm gonna talk to Sarah about other things, but. Okay, I will contact Jim Miller, and give him the good news. I think he'll be a good person. Okay, item 8, acceptance of donations. At the present time, the board has to accept all donations. Item C is I'm hoping to change that. We received a donation from Turkel Architectural for services over and above his contract. We have just so you understand the circumstances. We hired him to do the plan that you all saw. Okay, I mean it was $3,000, and since I know him really, really well, I pushed him to do a whole bunch more. Okay, and he very graciously did it, and so I told him that anything over the $3,000 that he did, we could give him it would be considered a donation to the district, or to the
foundation.
And so he sent an invoice for the extra $840 as a donation. So we have to accept that donation, and I will send him the letter. Okay, so
moved.
Second.
So you're the so moved, Jack is the so moved, Linda's the second.
okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, it's unanimous. And we received a $25,000 cash donation from RCK Properties in April, but I haven't been able to acknowledge the receipt because we have to accept it. So I need a motion to, unless somebody doesn't want, we need to approve the donation.
Motion to approve?
Yes.
Motion to
Second.
approve.
You moved?
Yes.
Okay, so second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No, it's unanimous. Okay. RCK Properties has been very generous to us. Okay, I would like the board to consider authorizing the treasurer, okay, with the concurrence of the president,
No.
okay, to accept donations on behalf of the foundation. To make these projects work, I need to be able to negotiate with contractors and people in the valley and say,
Be more
look,
time.
what?
And be more
And
timely.
be more timely, and not schedule a foundation meeting every time. And so, once we get into construction, that's gonna be happening a lot, and so I would just like to have, Linda can keep me underground, maintain control of the situation, so I can't go out and do something crazy. But the two of us together would be able to accept donations. And I can tell you right now, RCK will be donating another 25 probably in July.
With the understanding that you would keep us informed, there wouldn't just be the two of you agreeing and,
Cahooting over donations, yes.
well, I just think that becomes important, because
I agree.
I've seen that, get a little crossways with
It
some
can.
people in the past.
No problem, no problem.
The other thing I would like to add as part of this conversation, my concern about the presentation, and I wish they were still here, but, we got sidetracked in the best word, but there's a lot of energy and money went into the pool concept, which was a great concept. But I personally think our focus is on these fields, and that if this project comes and it's proved, one of the components is they're paying for everything.
Agreed.
If there's a cost to the district, a cost to this foundation, that's part of what they've got to come up with to make it happen.
I don't
I
see the
think
school
they
district
understand
putting anything into this.
Well, but things get 70% finished.
Money.
Wow, if we just had, and this and that. I'm just expressing an opinion.
Well,
I
the bottom line
second
is
your
we don't-
opinion.
as we're going to get to in the next item, okay, if you looked at the things I said, I mean,
Yes.
Did
money
we-
is tight.
Yes.
We didn't vote on C yet though, right?
We haven't voted on
Motion
this yet.
second, okay.
So I haven't had a motion to approve it.
So
I agree to help expedite things for work when it begins on the fields, but I think we should bring it to be recognized by the board. You see
Okay.
what I'm saying? That you and I still can do that.
it'd be
so that-
agendized, so that
Yes, so that it's agendized, so that then the letters are still going out and the board is recognizing the,
Okay, you want to ratify or recognize?
recognize,
Recognize
ratification
and-
should be those
Yeah.
you two.
Okay, I think, all right. So that means, so, okay, so part of your motion is we're going to bring everything back to recognize the donation to the, so the board recognizes the donation, so you're aware of
So they're
everything.
aware.
Yeah, that's perfectly legitimate, I
Well-
totally agree.
Aware and providing public recognition of those who
Right.
have given.
Good point.
Okay, so,
Did Ron so move it?
I so moved.
I so second it.
Mark?
All in favor?
I'm losing control of the meeting. Okay.
That's assuming you ever had to.
Yeah, that's true too. Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, moving on to item 9. This is the review of financial projections, construction assumptions, and alternatives for the youth sports complex. I sent out all these slides so that if you looked at them already, you don't need to, but we're gonna show them on the screen anyway. The first one, I just wanted to remind everybody, can you make that full screen? Okay, I mean, this is the plan, I mean, just so everybody's, I mean, Baldwin Lane, you can see Baldwin Lane School. I don't have a mouse to highlight it, it's the pin is Baldwin Lane School. There's 2 separate components to the plan. One is taking the old high school football field, once the new stadium is complete. And we have a license agreement with the district to improve that. That's just an example of the soccer fields that could be built there. So the concept is to put baseball, softball fields at the 2 corners and a total grass in the middle for a variety of sizes and shapes of soccer fields. Unfortunately, that project alone doesn't really meet the needs of soccer. It doesn't provide the same variety of fields that they have currently when they're using the high school. I mean, they're using the outfield between the boys and the varsity and JV baseball field. And if you look at the fields that they strike out there for their use, this doesn't quite supply them everything that they need, but it comes close. So building this alone certainly doesn't meet their needs. Baseball, softball would like at least 3, preferably 4 fields. And so this would meet the needs of both leagues. The upper field is, you know, a changed version of what we originally proposed. It was a 3-field complex up there. It has an enlarged outfield for a full-size soccer field there and a normal 300-foot fence outfield for a decent-sized soccer field there as well. So we would have enough soccer fields to meet the needs of this community, I think, forever. And baseball, softball forever, especially if you add in Sugarloaf Park. We would also be able to, during the summer months when the youth leagues are not using it, we could sponsor adult softball tournaments. That's a lucrative thing. People would like to come to Big Bear. Right now, they do go to Meadow Park, but those fields oppose each other, and so you wind up with adults. You wind up with the center fielder of one team is playing past the center fielder for the opposing. It's not ideal. This would be a very good facility to host that and provide a revenue stream for the foundation so we can keep the costs down to the leagues. Okay? So that's the plan, and that has been our plan now for several months. So go to the next slide. I have been talking about this plan to anybody who will listen to me. And a friend of mine, whoops, need the next slide.
We have to get out of full view. Hold on.
Okay.
Just
We
the
don't want to
escape.
full screen. Escape, escape, escape.
We don't really need the agenda up there at all.
I know, let's get rid of the agenda. Let's get rid of all that. This is like, okay. Somebody help out with it. Close it. We need a different person. Mary's starting to go. Okay, so brain.
This would
Okay,
be the
so
flyer.
which-
This
this
is
would
the
be the
flyer.
flyer. That's so stupid.
This is flyer. Okay, if you don't want to make that full screen, that's fine.
Oh, okay, let's make it full screen, just so
Okay.
that I can have practice.
Okay, all right. A friend of mine, this is the same thing you saw, but a friend of mine was talking to me, and I went through the whole process of what we've been doing, what we're trying to achieve, and he got all excited. He has a young boy in baseball, and he went to, his son had a game that afternoon, and he went over and talked to many other parents, and they were all excited as well, and said, oh, they'd be more than happy to help. Who do we talk to? Give me more information and all that. And so he called me the next day, so I prepared this as a flyer, printed up 30 of them. I gave them to him, and he took them to the rest of the season, took them to every game, and passed them out to other parents of both his team and the opposing team, and reported to me that everybody was excited about it and thought this was a great idea and wanted to help. But not one person out of the 30 replied to that email address saying that they would be willing to help or what expertise they had. So I was all excited that we were going to start gathering. I mean, my goal was to start gathering people who could actually help besides Mr. Peavy and Mr. Roberts. Okay. And Mr. Lawrence. All four of us were very active in getting the JV field disassembled and over. And I should say I want to appreciate you guys. But we needed to expand it beyond that, and we didn't get it. So it was disappointing, but not terribly surprising. So go to the next slide.
So the next one is the youth group, this one or this one? You want
Is the
one?
assumptions, the assumptions.
This is the assumptions?
Okay, this is I can't read that from here, but that's okay. I've got it here. What the next slide I'm going to show you are the budgetary alternatives that we really need to discuss going forward. But before you fully understand that, you need to understand the assumptions behind it. Okay, I'm assuming that rough grading will be donated for both sites. Okay, that's huge. The Maple Hill site is about 50,000 yards of dirt to move. That's not small. The Baldwin Lane is only 5,000 yards. It's a really easy grading project, but it's still not zero. I do believe that I've already contacted a couple of organizations, one of them being the resort that I've already talked about. And I do believe it's not unrealistic that we'll be able to accomplish that, but it's not a done deal. Okay? If we have to pay for grading on the school district's property, we have to pay prevailing wage. Okay? I mean, and that will be very expensive. So that's an important assumption. Second assumption is much of the labor for installing the irrigation system will be donated or volunteers, so cost will be primarily materials. Again, that's a pretty significant part. I mean, we're going to have to do a lot of trenching and various things that will require skills. It's not just people going out with rakes, raking a trail that you can teach people fairly quickly. This is real labor. Okay, so and a significant part of the labor is trenching for irrigation lines. I have abandoned subsurface strip irrigation at the strong recommendation of the landscape architect. Said that it simply would not work in this environment and with this use. And I also have talked to the DWP, and as long as we follow state guidelines, have the landscape architect design the system so it's really water efficient, we'll be okay with that. I also assume the utility line installation will be donated or volunteers so that the cost will be materials only. That's really a backhoe and some shading material, but it's a significant cost if we have to pay somebody else to do it. I'm assuming I can find somebody, and I'm pretty confident. I know people with backhoes. If worse comes to worse, I can think. But I don't want to do that. Okay, importing topsoil, rock removal, and soil amendments will be necessary to get the grass growing. I absolutely know that's true. The soil up there is horrible, and that we will have to buy that. I don't believe I can get it donated. But trucking costs and screening costs, I believe, can be donated and hopefully will be, and so that's a cost that I took out. Finally, labor for reinstalling the backstops and fencing from the JV field will be primarily volunteer and donated. And we all have expertise taking it apart, now we have to just put it back together. So anyway, those are the assumptions, and there's a lot of money contained here. If all those are wrong, we can't afford to do this. So we have to get the community involved, we have to get some people to step up and help us. The three of us cannot do everything.
For-
So, going to the last one,
Dr. Foulkes.
yes ma'am.
For those that are not able to physically help to donate and volunteer, are we advertising on our website where people can contribute monetarily?
Yes, there is a donate button on our website, and
And
the
it-
only person in the history of our website who has donated is me.
But now that
To
you-
test it, to see
we're
if
getting
it's real.
close to, so flashing lights on that, kind of thing.
Yes. Well, it's, our website isn't the best, and I'm the only one that's played with it. If somebody else has got expertise and wants to improve it, but,
I'm a business
The-
person, I don't do that thing.
yeah. Well, I mean, the new field diagram is there.
Yeah.
You can see it, and, there's a request to donate, but we do have more traffic to the site than I expected, but nobody's donating. But we haven't really pushed it either, so.
Right.
Yes, we'll always accept donations, but I never expected that this community would be able to financially support to the level that we need to build this.
Right.
I mean, I know this community pretty well, and there's a lot of expertise, there's a lot of people with equipment, there's a lot of people that could help us, okay, rather than just donate.
Got it.
Okay, so that's been my focus and continue to be my focus. Okay, so what you're looking at are the three columns there are three different options. The line items going down is basically a cash flow projection. I don't know that we need to go through it in any great detail, but the first column is kind of the path we are currently on, and that is we're going to proceed with both the upper one I call Maple Hill Fields, because that's on our property. The lower one I call Baldwin Lane Fields, that's on school district property. Okay? So, what we're really doing is we're going to proceed with both fields until the money runs out or people won't help us anymore. Okay? This year, that's what we actually spent. Okay? We're almost through the end of the fiscal year for us, and that was all in planning and doing the various things that needed to be done. And so you'll see that, well, it is different. I cut out $8,000 because I don't know why. Anyway, that we wouldn't have to do, we haven't spent the money yet on the timber harvest plan. Okay? And so if we do not do that, we can save money even in this fiscal year. The assumptions are, I don't know if you want me to go through everything, but the bottom line is that we are set up to remove the trees from the Maple Hill project starting September 1st. Okay? The bio surveys that were required by our conditional use permit from the county will start tomorrow, assuming that we get clearance there. The timber harvest plan is in place, approved by CAL FIRE. We would have to go out and also do an archaeological investigation, which is contracted for but not done yet. Those things will be okay, on Baldwin Lane, all we really have to do is design. We've got a partial design. There's also an item on the agenda later on for hiring Miller to help us with DSA. That project has to be reviewed and approved by DSA, and we're set up to proceed with that. The $208,000 for Maple Hill, this was all done 2 days ago, when I believed the cost for the tree removal and the stump handling was going to be 6 times my estimate. Okay? 6 times. I got a proposal today for only a 50% over my estimate. Okay, so I've got to sit down with the contractors and make sure we're talking apples to apples here. But if the cost is really in the lower range, then that 208 would be significantly smaller. But still, there's a lot of money involved in the Maple Hill Fields. Okay, as you see, as we go down, and I'm making assumptions as to what we do when. Most of the work on Baldwin Lane would be in 24-25 next fiscal year. And I'm starting to solicit people to do the grading for us next fiscal year, but that's when most of the costs are. We also have significant costs on Maple Hill if we try to proceed with that one in parallel. As you see, to continue, I've also got projections in here of donations. Okay, those are donations that I know we're going to get. Okay, RCK has been very supportive and will continue to support to the levels that I've indicated here. Plus, we are finally earning interest. We've got our short-term funds earning, 4.5%, which is wonderful. The endowment funds, we have two endowments, just so that everybody remembers. We have a donor-designated endowment and a board-designated endowment. Both have lost money since we invested. Okay? Instead of making us money, they're down about 7% from when we invested the funds about 2 years ago. Last year was a really bad year. We're up 5% this year, but we're still at this, as of yesterday, we were still down 7%. So we haven't generated any money there. The only assumptions I've made here are that our short-term funds will continue to earn about 4%. Okay, that's an extra $5,000. We actually received $200,000 total from RCK in this fiscal year, and I'm projecting that we will receive about $75,000 this fiscal year. Now, whether that actually materializes the last 25 is anyway, as you see down in fiscal 24-25, to fund it, we would have to undesignate the board designated endowment. Okay? I assume it'll be $100,000 by that point. Right now it's currently 93. But we have the authority to do that. The board could make that decision. We cannot spend the donor designated endowment funds. That was designated by the donor to be an endowment. So as you see, we run out of money in 25-26. We're in the hole about $42,000. And we still haven't actually got turf there yet. If you go down the next step, the county will require us to build restrooms. That's about $280,000. We don't have that money. And the last item is we have to pave the driveway and parking, and that's another, it's on this next page, that's another $300,000. So we don't have the money to complete all of it. My assumption going forward would be we would go as far as we could if we could get the grass and turf. The kids could play there. We don't have to have the road paved. We don't have to have a restroom there. The county will let us do that for some period of time. At some point in the future, we would probably have to have those facilities in, but whether it's in the 25, 26, 26, 27 time is not mandatory. Okay, given all that, I prepared the second one. The second column is simply, we proceed with Baldwin Lane as our focus, okay? And we go ahead and complete the Maple Hill bio surveys and the archaeology. Technically, the California Department of Fish and Wildlife wants bio studies to be no more than a year old. I don't think that's a real hard and fast rule in this case. So we could probably use them next year. If it was more than a year, then we'd have to redo them. But the archaeology doesn't change. Okay, I mean, that's not what it's supposed to.
No, but if we don't do the timber harvest, that could affect the bio because all of a sudden a bird could show up.
Yes, yes. Okay, the bio, if we waited more than, technically a year would be the most, but I think we could probably squeeze 2. If we waited 3 years, we'd have to repeat the bio, that's $15,000. Okay. So we could stop the bio at this point, but I would really like to complete it so that we know right now there are no rare plants there, there's no problems today. Okay. If that doesn't come through clear, we have a whole nother area of problem. We have to deal with that before we go. So all right, that's the middle column. As you can see, we can afford it.
What's the cost of the timber harvest?
To do the timber? The low bid was $35,000. The high bid was $120,000. There's a little bit of a spread there.
Just a little.
We know about
So-
this, don't we?
There's lots of hillbillies up here, me included. I'd go cut some wood down.
So for Claire, just
The president-
help me understand
I
this.
think people would.
Pardon me?
It's a wide open issue.
That would be donated.
The problem, okay, let me just say, it. We can't do that.
That's
Okay?
right.
CAL FIRE will not let us do that.
Unfortunately.
Okay? We had to get a timber harvest, file a timber harvest plan and get a timber conversion permit, which requires that the timber be removed by a licensed timber operator. If you're not an LTO, you can't go out and cut the tree. And we had to hire a registered professional forester to enforce that.
So,
If somebody went out in the middle
but
of the
part
night.
of that,
cutting all down.
would part of,
I didn't hear that.
if you're talking to
People would cut that
the
down.
contractor, which you
Like that.
said you're gonna sit down
Yes.
with, if there were a way, I know like in the forest, they'll cut down trees and they call them log decks. They put them in log decks
Yes.
and then people can come up and cut them. And like if I've had trees cut at my house, which I have, if they leave the wood, it cuts the cost significantly because they're not hauling it away. And if we could have people from the community, they'll come up, it'll be like locusts coming for that firewood.
Yes, I will definitely talk to them to see if we can make that work.
And for clarification on your spreadsheet here, so in the middle column, if we went with the middle column, Baldwin Lane would be available for utilization.
Baldwin Lane would be complete by the end of '25.
Okay. The thing before you get through all of this, to me, I would support something like that, because I think if people see
Yeah.
some completion, you will stand a better chance to go out and generate interest and hopefully revenue to do the bigger piece of it versus, we're not gonna do anything, and I know you can say this, but we're not gonna do anything till we have enough money to complete all of this.
All three scenarios, Baldwin Lane gets completed by 2024. It's really the only, I mean, I consider that the low-hanging fruit that I am confident that we can get done. Okay? The question is, do we want to spend money earlier or delay spending money on Maple Hill? That's really the question.
Well,
Well-
Maple Hill's not gonna get any cheaper.
Well, yeah.
So
I
this
mean, the
first
dollars
column-
you see in the first column are not right. They're off by the difference between 35 and 120.
First column, get down to the bottom point of 26, 27, we would be short $1 million,
Yeah.
right?
Well, it's,
Well, you're negative 569, and then for paving's 305,000,
yes,
so
yes.
that's
Yep.
very close.
Yeah, it's very close.
$1 million.
It's 900.
Versus being able to show, like on a middle column, the progress. And
Well, but you
you're
should,
showing the same progress on the first column.
on all of
too.
them.
Yeah, so.
Well, I mean, but
That
here's
helps me understand that.
here's something that everyone needs to understand. As soon as we take down the trees, we are committed to doing the Maple Hill fence. Okay? Because our CAL FIRE timber harvest plan says that if we take down the trees and don't build it, we have to replant. Okay? And didn't say how we have to.
But I think that helps, getting to that
And how
point
far
helps
out?
people see
Didn't say.
things happening and would be more willing to, okay, this thing is happening, I can throw in some help, I can throw in some bucks, I can maybe do both.
Like Ron's saying, I could see people going out for events at the Baldwin Field and being able to walk up the hill and say, look, this cleared area is gonna be 2 more baseball fields and, 2 more soccer fields. But this is what we need, and we could have a big sign there, please donate to help this happen. Be shameless.
With a thermometer. Oh, they have the thermometers?
Yeah.
We are this close.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
and that might get people excited from the community that are like, well, I don't have a bunch of cash, but I can fill the diesel in my excavator and get some work done.
Well, and that's the direction I really always figured we could go. I know this community doesn't have hundreds of thousands of dollars that they're gonna contribute to this. But I do believe there are a lot of people that if they're willing, and maybe once they get excited about the project, will show up with a backhoe or a truck or, I mean, my experience, I probably shouldn't tell the story, but I will. I mean,
We'll let you know after you tell
okay, there was not a varsity girls softball field at the high school. Okay? It was not built as part of the construction. It was on the plans, but it was never built. And my daughter was playing softball. Okay, this is the late '90s, and I went to a parents' meeting with Mike and Dolores Clifton. Right? And Mike put up a sign on the side of his classroom that said "Field of Dreams." And afterwards, I went, "What is that?" Okay, he goes, "Well, someday, gee, it would be nice, you know." I was, "Well, why don't you just build it?" "Oh, well, geez, there's a 12-inch water main that goes out there. We've got to do grading." And I went, "That's not a problem." Anyway, and so Mike and I went to the DWP and I said, "Hey, they got a 12-inch water main that needs to be lowered 5 feet for like 20 feet. That's it." And so they had the expertise, right? We got the pipe. They came out, two of their guys on Saturday, used the school district's backhoe. Mike Clifton and I were the laborers, and we moved the water line in a weekend. Okay? And so the next thing we contacted Ken Willis and 2 other contractors who will be nameless. And Ken said, "Yeah, I'll bring a big hoe, I can move the dirt, but you have to get somebody else to haul it." Because RCK Properties agreed to allow them to dump the dirt behind the high school, okay? Behind the Perry Reservoir where we put it. So yeah, showed up on a Saturday, Ken showed up with his hoe, and the other 2 contractors didn't show. And it's like, and Ken went, "All right, call this guys," brought out 2 trucks, Ken Willis Contracting, moved all the dirt in 2 days. Okay? And he got into it. He said, "We'll over excavate and I'll screen it and I'll bring it back so we have a nice, real firm, good base for the brick dust that goes on top." Anyway, it was, I believe we spent a total of $25,000.
Wow, that's
Okay.
amazing.
Yes, because between Mike and I, we knew everybody in the valley, I swear, and a lot of people stepped up, and we got the backstop at a discount. We got the masonry work at a discount. The fencing, we got a good discount. So anyway, that's the kind of the model that I was hoping, but it's not materializing.
Well,
We haven't started
when
construction.
people see, it
Yeah.
goes back to that point though, people saw that something was really going to happen and it was happening, they want to become part of it. And that's where I think once people start seeing there's really something happening with this, they'll be more.
That's when the excitement.
Yeah.
So, are you saying you want to go ahead and take the trees down and commit to Maple Hill and then stop until we get Baldwin Lane done?
Yeah, because
That's
now
what
I
I-
understand that at least the Baldwin Lane would be completed and be in use, and I think that would help people
Yeah.
have a greater vision. Like Jack says, with the sign and the monitor right there saying, "Hey, this much money's been donated by this community up to this point."
It wasn't on the layout that we had up there, but I was thinking as we're looking at it, there needs to be a trail between them, because you've got parents that are one
Yes.
field and older kids at the other.
Actually,
But if we build that now, where people can walk up and look down at the future site of the Maple Hill.
Well, there is a trail. The elementary connector goes right by the old field.
Okay.
And it goes right up to where but nobody knows where the new fields are. It goes right there, okay, but nobody knows that's where it is.
I think it'd be money well spent, or we could probably get it donated if they sign.
Well, if we cut the trees down, then there'll be a big field there, and then we can put a sign that
Future home.
yes. So,
I think I still haven't seen one.
And
It's
we
there.
definitely have to connect the two fields
It is there.
when it's all done. Yeah.
Yeah, DSA, a path of travel. Good luck.
Doesn't have to be a path to travel, it's not on the school district property.
Oh, that is so nice.
Okay, so is there a consensus? Basically, we're going with the third column. We're gonna proceed with Baldwin Lane for sure. We're gonna go ahead and do the trees. And it says no stumps, but for $35,000, if I can get rid of the stumps, I'm gonna do it. Okay?
So proceed with column 3 on spreadsheet.
Yeah, okay. This will require us undesignating some of the funds if we don't get all the donations I'm projecting, then we'll be struggling for money, okay? If we do get more donations than I'm projecting, then things will be great. So it's hard to really project out 2 years. But we do have the $100,000 cushion that we could allocate if need be to make sure we get Baldwin Lane finished. Okay. All right, so that's the direction you want to go. Yes, Mr. Hamilton?
It is a puzzle to me that all of this conversation in the Department of Parks and Rec is never mentioned. Is there
I
some
thought
reason-
about it, but
Is there some reason for that? They're not, I mean, this is what they do.
do they?
This is what they're supposed to do.
Okay.
Well, you know, when
Initial phases.
when Lori was there, she was very excited. She used to come to all our meetings, okay? To take you back, Phil, on a little history. Before RCK Properties donated the 213 acres to the school district, I approached the county of San Bernardino department. It's special districts. Okay? And I talked with, I don't remember the guy's name anymore, but anyway, I showed him a plan, okay, of kind of an early version of the 3-field plan up there, and he loved it. And I'm like, gee, that's great. Okay, we'd love to take this donation from you. I said, oh, by the way, the president of RCK says that, you know, we'll put a condition that if you don't have some improvements within 3 years, okay, that the property would revert to us. And he literally went, then don't bother, because there's no way I'm gonna do anything with this, I don't have any money. I'd love to have the property, but we won't be able to do it.
I mean, that's the answer, but someone ought to make it very clear that this is being done by you and not by them, and someone ought to begin to ask some questions about it.
Well, that's a long story, though.
I know.
But anyway, I do not believe that, I mean, and
It's
And-
pretty frustrating.
Oh, I
Yes.
understand that.
the last contact I had there is moved on. Jacqueline is his last name.
Glenn Jack.
Glenn,
Yeah.
he was also very supportive, but he's not there anymore.
Is it Bill now, is the head person now? When did you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Bill is it
Often.
Bill Hoffman?
don't know him. Anyway, I mean, that's why I was hoping that the baseball, softball, and soccer leagues would be very excited, because they have problems with the park district. I mean, I talked to somebody earlier in the year going, they won't let us on the fields until, you know, April 15th, regardless what the snow is. And that they,
You guys have been
I think
going
they're,
For softball and baseball, they won't let us use it.
That's,
Well, let's not belabor it.
yes.
It's just-
Anyway, this would, in the long term, once it's there and they're getting to use it, okay, and we can finance this and make it work in the long term. I mean, we have an endowment that'll help finance the
season's almost
foundation
over.
forever. I would hope. Okay, so the bottom line is, there's a consensus that we should proceed pretty much this summer, focused on Baldwin Lane, and stop with the trees and the stumps if I can get it cheap.
you can get it cheap.
Stop after.
Yes, stop after the trees. So that means that I will not plan on any construction work on Maple Hill. We will focus our efforts on Baldwin Lane as soon as the stadium is complete.
Did CAL FIRE say how long it can be, have all the trees cut down before the foundation would have to replant?
Just said if you abandon the project.
Oh, if we abandon, so
Abandon.
as long as we continue staying.
Yeah,
with
Yeah.
and
We're
that's
still
the reason-
doing it, we just need money.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's, the county is also, I've talked to the county, I told them, hey, I don't have the money for a restroom,
Well, I was-
okay? And he went, well, you don't have to complete everything at once. Okay, now, whether they will give us a temporary occupancy permit, without a restroom, that remains to be
Porta
seen.
potties,
It's sort of
Yes.
temporary.
Yes,
those are temporary.
So I believe once we've got grass out there and kids can be, kids can play, I think we will be able to overcome some of the smaller.
Well, cutting down on the trees, you won't be able to do it.
Porta potties around sports fields are common.
Absolutely.
Oh, I agree 100%.
In fact, that's what we should have at the new stadium.
That's what we should.
No, it isn't.
It would be less expensive.
Yes, it would be less expensive.
But the reason why I asked about that is I know that if the project stops for 10 days on the football stadium, we have to bring out the nesting bird and the flying squirrel people again.
So we're not
No,
stopping.
that's,
No, we're not stopping. So that's why I was asking if CAL FIRE gave us a deadline. But
you've taken the trees down.
yeah.
Okay, there's nothing for them to nest in anymore. Okay,
Could
so
you get them down faster, please?
they're down. Your trees
No,
are down.
Oh.
he's talking about
That's okay.
Maple.
Oh,
Maple
Maple Hill.
Hill.
No, that'll be September.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
so that's all I
Yes.
needed was direction, and that's the direction I'll go. I believe that's a logical way to go. Okay, so I don't need a motion, I just need a direction as to where the board wanted to be. Okay. Now, moving right along. Okay, 10, now that we've decided we want to proceed with Golden Lane for sure, we need, I got proposals from an architect in San Bernardino and a proposal from Miller Architectural, who happens to work with the school district, everybody here knows. Anyway, to help us with DSA, both the civil engineer working for us and the landscape architect that was recommended to me refused to work with DSA. Okay, they say they're the worst, or, no, I shouldn't say this because this is on camera. But anyway, and so we need someone to assist us with DSA, and the proposal from the architect down the hill was $28,000. Miller Architecture was for 7. Okay, so I don't think there's, and besides, Edgar works for the district, he knows Terry, I mean, we already have a relationship
Yeah.
here, and so I would recommend that we approve the contract with Miller Architectural to assist us with DSA review for the Baldwin
Motion.
Lane project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? It's unanimous. Okay, we can move forward with that. Okay, now, the second item we can't do. Review and consider approval of a contract for tree, brush, and possibly stump removal from Maple Hills Fields project. Contractor to be determined. I just got the 2 bids today. I need to meet with Justin to make sure that it's really doing what we need to do. We can either schedule another board meeting we're not going to start this work until July, until
We're doing
until
conditional.
September. Okay?
From Bear Valley Tree or whatever.
No, it's from Justin Klein Logging. The local person is way out. Yes, like that. All the bids were from the mountains. One locally, thank you, and 2 from Lincoln. Okay. So, if you'd like, once I got a final, make sure that the price, his price was $35,000. That is a great price, I believe, okay, to deal with it. But since I don't have a contract for you to approve, do you want me to schedule a special meeting, you can bring it back? Or do you want to leave it till Wednesday?
I say conditional approval if it's what it is.
Conditional approval,
Yes.
Okay,
and if it is what it is, then we'll have to do it.
I would say conditional approval up to 40,000, so if you need to add,
oh, okay, all right, that's
Something.
that's good.
then we don't have to meet solely for a de minimis add.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I
Is
Second.
And a second from Rosado. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Unanimous. Okay. Item 12, review and status of major foundation projects. Trails is first. Would you guys like to?
I asked Jordan to join us. This is Jordan Lowe. He is the third of our trails managers to come to town. The first one was from Atlanta, the second one from Chicago. Jordan's a local guy. That wasn't a major factor in our decision, but certainly it was a consideration. I've been very impressed with Jordan. He's been on the job about a month now, with his organization, with his commitment, with his understanding, and not frustration with the bureaucracy. And so I think he's going to be a real asset to our community and to this project. So he would be your point of contact in terms of work on that Maple Hills project. Jordan, I don't know if you want to say anything. You don't have to.
Nice
You're on
article, by
camera.
the way, in the paper.
Yeah, just kind of an update for you guys working, moving forward with the terms defined under our MOU. So we are doing work days there. We have one scheduled for this Saturday, as well as some others scheduled throughout the summer. So we'll be out and about taking care of the trails out there.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
I know the community loves those trails.
Yeah, along that line, SCMF did sign the MOU, okay, and I signed it, so the board approved it months ago. So that is now in place, as Jordan said. Stacy told me that the trailhead signs arrived but without keys.
I did get that sorted, so I'm just waiting for the signage to finish getting printed up here locally, and then we're going to be ready to move forward with that. I know there was a discussion about where we're going to be putting the map that's over by Baldwin
Yes.
Elementary, so
Yeah, and I've thought more about that because I told Stacy we need to go out and look at it. I assume you're putting the other one where they're currently located.
yeah, so it'll be replacing the 3 signs. So
Right.
at the corner of the high school, at Shore and Division, as well as at the elementary
Right,
school.
and you might just go ahead and put it there. My concern was the water quality treatment basin for draining the parking lot, which we have to pay now, was right where that sign is.
Oh,
And I talked to the engineer and he could just move it north. Move the basin rather than move the sign, because that's a great location for the sign. So that people that park there see it.
yes.
If we moved it further inland, even though it would be more visible later, I think that defeats the purpose. So I'll move the basin rather than move the sign, so just go ahead and do it.
Okay, perfect.
Okay?
Jordan, what's your last name? So it's
Lowe, L-O-W-E.
just to spell it for the minutes. You probably already knew that. Did you already know that? O-W.
No, well, he has my contact information, I hope.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So, do I have your email address?
No, but I'll shoot you an email later.
Okay, great. Okay,
Contact information to the community.
okay, I think I already told, the youth sports complex we kind of beat to death already. Like I said, the bio surveys start tomorrow. The JV backstop and fencing has been inventoried and stored neatly near the Baldwin Lane field, so we're ready to go. We actually got not only the big backstop, but the small Chautauqua backstop, so we have a T-ball field basically we can put in there as well. So that's a big cost that we won't have to do, I know. Other than that, there's nothing. So, is there anything, any future agenda items you would really like to discuss?
Foundation tax reporting.
Oh! I should have put that on the agenda. Yes, we need to, I was planning to use the same person that we used last year, Sarah Sim. She's fabulous and cheap, or inexpensive. So, I don't know if we have the authority to just do that, being
I
treasurer.
thought they gave us that
We did.
authority for that contract.
I mean,
We can go back and look.
It has to happen, but that's not a.
yeah,
Yeah, I thought we gave it for year over year.
Yeah.
okay, we may have, I just don't recall, but my plan would be to hire her. We kind of set everything up on her system,
Mhm.
and so it'll be much smoother to get that done. Okay, so
And we won't have to have audits, so we're good
we
on
don't
that.
have to have audits. As long as we don't take in $1 million a year, we don't have, $2 million? And I don't think that's to be a problem. In fact, if somebody wanted to give us $2 million, I wouldn't mind having it.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Okay, so I don't think there's a need for a future meeting date at this point. If something comes up, I'll need to call a meeting. But now that we can accept donations, that was gonna be the big thing.
If Jim Miller did not, if he changed his mind, didn't accept
Then we'll have to
the
have a,
position,
Then we would have to.
okay.
So we'll congratulate Jim.
So we'll congratulate you.
yeah.
Yes, and thank Liz. We need to recognize Liz.
Yes.
She
Yeah,
wasn't
we
on the
do.
board all that long, but we still should recognize her. Anything else?
No, sir, thank you.
Okay. We are adjourned. Okay.
Thank you.
Nope, nope, I got time.
Okay.
And thank you,
Where
Mary.
are you going?
I have to
Got it. Mary, thank you for coming.